Beckham, O'Sullivan and White, what a pair and a half. And Jimmy, this match we have this afternoon, it's the unstoppable force meets a movable object. Selby and Robertson both are convinced they can win this week.
Yeah, they both fancy their job, both at their prime as snooker professionals, winning tournaments all the time. You know, if Mark Selby would have beat Ronnie O'Sullivan in the World Championships, you know, who knows, he might be world champion. He was playing really well in that match. He's won a tournament here this year, but Robertson's beaten him twice so far, 6-5 on both occasions. So I expect it to go to the wire.
Tonight, the other clash of the Titans, Ronnie, Judd against Kyron. We've seen it so many times of late, but give us more.
Yeah, no, I like this matchup a lot, you know, because obviously Judd's the main man, winning all the big tournaments, by far leading the rankings. But Wilson's one of them guys that every time Trump beats him, it just makes him stronger. And so it's going to be, you know, that's going to be Judd's sort of rivalry, if you like, over the next few years. Players that are underneath him, that are younger, that just want to learn from him, and they'll treat each time they play him as a learning experience and try to grow from it as a player. You know?
Another chapter of that rivalry today in the Eurosport app in the second of our quarter-final story. Jack Lisowski, Ronnie, is this match as much about mentality as it is about anything else?
I think when you want to start, you know, putting your name in the hat for winning tournaments, the bottom line is you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have the right temperament, you're never going to win tournaments, because, you know, you come up against someone like Selby, Robertson, who do have the right mentality. At the crucial times, they'll kind of raise their game and your game a dip. So for Jack, you know, he's yet to show us that he has the temperament to win the tournaments, because if it was down to talent, then he would have won many, many tournaments, but he hasn't. So it obviously has to be a temperament thing that's held him back.
You're right, it's not even a ranking title yet. Let's look at the race to the Masters, because if Jack Lisowski wins today, he's getting back to the Masters. It's a straightforward, if you win, you're in.
Yeah, what a great bonus. You know, he's not only playing for a chance to be in the semi-finals of the UK Championship, furthest he's ever been in a ranking tournament, in a Triple Crown event, but a chance to be in the Masters, all to play for.
Here's one for you. If Joe Perry wins tonight, Lisowski wins this afternoon, he'll have the same money as Tipchaya Anu, and we think he makes the Masters on count back.
Wow.
Imagine if you lose on count back, finish 17th, Ronnie. That's a proper gut punch, but them's the rules.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. You know, he's not had much luck as he Tipchaya. A couple of maximums have gone astray, and it looks like he could be squeezed out the top 16 on a countback. So yeah, he doesn't get much form when it comes to these crucial moments. You know.
Jimmy, you first-hand know what Joe Yulong's like when he hits a purple patch. He left you. You had a lovely bum groove going, didn't you, in that last 64?
Yeah, I sat in my seat. I won the first game. I had a 60 and a 70 first game, 1-0 up, nice and settled. And then next time I really looked at the scoreboard, I was 5-1 down. He had 100, 93, 114, 99. Not that I'm bothered about it. I've got over it. But no, listen, I'm only joking. He is a fantastic. He's improved. This kid has got a good temperament. You know, he played John Higgins the other day. Okay, John was a little bit below par, but he held himself together really well.
Absolutely. He's taken out a couple of legends along the way, and it's a couple of giants we have coming up here this afternoon. So let's concentrate in on our big game. Let's hear from Neil Robertson first. Rachel Casey caught up with him just after his last win against Anthony McGill.
Twice a winner, Neil, and your 7th quarter-final of the UK Championship. Your expectations at this stage in your career, would you be expected not to get to this stage in such a big tournament?
Yeah, when the big events come, you always think that if you play somewhere near your best, then you'll progress very, very far in the event. Yeah, I think so far this week I've been good value for getting to the quarterfinals so far. I had to fight a bit more today than what I have done in the other rounds, but yeah, really pleased to get through. So
Neil, you play Mark Selby again, the 4th time in 5 months, and you've beaten him twice since. After the World Championship, did you have to take a different approach, not to be Selby'd again?
I wouldn't call it Selby'd. I mean, you know, I have to take responsibility for the way that match was played. I should have been far more aggressive, and that's what I have done the last 2 times we played, especially the last match in the Champion of Champions, where Stephen Hendry actually said it was the best out of 11 he's ever seen, and I think we both had 3 centuries. There was 4 total clearances between us, over 4 frames, and yeah, it was an amazing match, and you know, hopefully we can play something like that again.
Do you think that sometimes maybe snooker fans, pundits, those that watch the game and look on at Mark Selby and, maybe forget that, that match that you mentioned, it was just flair by both of you. Do people sometimes forget that Selby can do that? And when he does, he's an amazing player.
Yeah, no, Mark's an unbelievable player. He can score just as heavy as anyone else in the game. The thing is that when he's not at his best, he's just so good at winning in other ways, where maybe some other players, when they're not at their best, who are heavy scorers, when they're not at their best, they get beat. Mark Selby, a lot of the time, wins. So you can't always play really, really well. I mean, Mark wants to play really good snooker as much as possible, and he puts the work in to do so. If you want to try and sort of get tactical with Mark Selby, it's very dangerous. He's the best player in the world at that. So you need to try and make it more aggressive, which then in a way brings out the best of him as well, and then it becomes a really good match to watch all round for everyone. It becomes more enjoyable for the players, and it becomes more enjoyable, I guess, for everyone watching at home as well.
If you need any more reasons to be glued to your sofa, just take a look at this, the head-to-head, Jimmy. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's the last two times Robertson's beaten him 6-5, 6-5. But the one that sticks out for me is the World Championships. We was covering that in Sheffield.
Yep.
And the first game took an hour, and for some reason, Neil Robertson tried to play Mark Selby at his game, keep the balls tight. He lost the first frame, and he went 5-0 down before he even started playing. For me, for Neil Robertson to beat Mark Selby today, he's got to open up the balls with safety and hopefully get it tight. But Mark Selby, he's putting long balls at the moment, so he's putting a lot of pressure on all his opponents.
And he's racking up the centuries, 3 in the last round. Robbo's got no problem with scoring. You play against them all the time. How do you see this?
No, if you look at the recent record, obviously you have to favour Robertson because he just seems to be getting the edge on the head-to-head sort of thing. But Selby looks like he's he's just been plodding away. He's won a tournament this season, semis of the world. He's had another couple of semis so far this season. Played very, very consistent snooker. Just happens to be getting beat by players that are playing to the top of their form. So, he'll just know it's just a matter of time before it all works out for him and he gets his name on another trophy.
Jimmy, how do you praise Robertson this week? Maybe a little bit better early on in the week, but also a bit like Judd Trump, just cruising.
Yeah, he's got that sort of air of confidence around him that Trump's got, that the top players have by winning. And he just looks, he is a bit of a laid-back character anyway, but he seems like, as soon as he went 4-2 down with McGill the other day, and then all of a sudden just stepped up a gear and never looked like losing. There was no sort of panic in his game at all, and I think that's down to his fantastic cue action and his confidence.
Ronnie, why has Neil Robertson not won a Triple Crown title since the 15-16 season? What would you put that down to?
There's just a lot of good players around, and it's not easy to win these tournaments, So, Selby's been dominating for quite a while. John Egan's is always thereabouts. Mark Williams. So it's hard to and there's only 3 of them to go at, so you can go 2-3 years without making a semi-final or final. You can do well in all the other tournaments, but like you say, these are the tournaments that at the end of your career people will judge you by. It's the only constant thing in snooker is that we have our 3 majors. So these guys will be really aware of that and wanting to kind of go down as legends in the game. So, these are the titles that you are judged by at the end of the day.
What's the one thing, would you say, that Neil Robertson has to do to perfection today to get through the semi-finals?
For me, personally, he has to open up the balls with the safety, but obviously when you've got someone as good as Mark Selby scoring, that puts a bit of pressure on that. But if he just tries to keep it tight with Mark Selby, the longer it goes on, the more it will favour Mark Selby because he's so good in that department. And Neil Robertson, for me, is a bit of more of a fluent player, more of a scorer.
Yeah, well, listen, the Aussies looking to send Selby down under. Mark has other ideas. We'll hear from him when we come back. For a place in the UK Championship semi-finals. And on the Eurosport app, a real juxtaposition. 2 players in the first ever Triple Crown quarter. One of them heading to the Final 4. But for Mark Selby, already a hat-trick of Worlds and a hat-trick of Masters in the bag. He's 3 wins away from a 3rd UK title. He talked about it with Rachel.
Congratulations, Mark. Great to be in the quarterfinals of the UK Championship. And we were talking about the magic number in terms of Triple Crown events. And we're kind of gearing a little bit closer, getting closer to that.
It's getting closer, yeah. But, I'm still not thinking about it just yet. I'm still 3 matches away if that was to happen. And it don't get any harder than Neil Robertson in the next round.
And let's talk about Neil, because goodness, you guys have seen a lot of each other, haven't you?
Too much.
Firstly, we've got to talk about the match at Sheffield in the World Championships, where you were on top, and you were very much on top of Neil in that match.
Yeah, I felt as though my safety throughout that match was really good, and I sort of shut him out, didn't give him too many chances. But since then we've played twice, and he's beat me 6-5 in both matches, and we both played well in both games. So it was just a spin of a coin which way it was going to go in the decider.
And you say you played Neil at his game. What is your game?
I don't know. I mean, if I'm struggling, then I seem to rely on my safety a lot to get me chances. But if I'm confident and playing well, which I feel like at the moment, and then I'm confident of going for my shots. But it's the same as anything, I suppose. If you're not confident, you're not going to keep going for them, because you're not going to be confident of getting them.
I mean, people are saying sometimes, you know, Mark Selby, he's a grafter, he's a grinder, and all of that. But isn't it great to have that kind of in your bag, shall we say? You know, you've got all the clubs. If you have to play safety, if you've got to win that way, then you can. Yeah,
I mean, I'd rather it be like that. I'd rather be the way I am, rather than think, well, the only time you're going to win is if you're playing really well, which is not going to be all the while. You can't play well every single match. So it's good that my backup game sometimes just get me through matches. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather be out there and making century break after century break and winning, but it's not always the case.
Do you still get excited about matches at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, definitely in these big tournaments like the UK Masters and the World Championships, you still get butterflies going out there, whether there's a crowd or not. So I'm sure that'll be the same again Friday.
And is it a case of controlling the butterflies, or are you just like, you're an old pro now?
Yeah, I mean, once you're halfway through the first frame, then they seem to go. Start of the match, I suppose it's just pre-match nerves build up, and then once I'm involved in the game, and then it's fine, unless it goes to 5-all and then you're shaking again.
We are so excited about it. It's going to be a fantastic match. We wish you the best of luck.
Cheers, Rachel. Thank you.
A game changer when it comes to winning Triple Crown titles. It sort of changes the conversation a bit when you've got 20, but sitting in the top 5, Mark Selby of all time. One more, he's level with Higgins on 9. Tremendous, Romney.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he's done it when it matters. Like we said, you know, these all the other tournaments are okay, you know, but they don't come with the pressure and the buzz of like a Triple Crown, you know. So this is where it really matters, you know, for these guys. You know, they'll be G'd up for this tonight, and obviously like one behind Higgins, and he's still got a long way to go in his career. So I'd expect him to overtake Higgins, and anyone that starts overtaking Higgins' record, you're definitely an all-time great. So he's already an all-time great, but it's just about how much of a great he can be, you know.
I look at this is a big conversation, Jimmy, but I look at that top 4. So you get Davis on 15 to Ronnie on 20, and in between them Hendry. Are they untouchable? Are they untouchable the way snooker is now, given the competition there is now for Triple Crown titles?
Well, exactly. You know, for Ronnie to win 20, you know, OK, he's done it in 3 different sort of decades, but the strength in depth now, you know, in these first rounds, OK, these top guys very rarely go and play on the outside tables, but there's some real tough snooker to get through, you know, and then the top players seem to produce the last few days of a tournament. They get stronger and stronger. That's why they win these Triple Crown events.
Well, that's what Selby's doing. He is getting stronger and stronger. 3 centuries, and the last round was the key for me. Is that the moment when it becomes where pundits start saying, yeah, I believe in Selby once the scoring kicks in?
Yeah, no, you never write Selby off like he's got bottle, he's got temperament, you know, he's got you know, his bad game is very, very good, so he can still win tournaments. Well, he has won lots of tournaments not playing his best, so, you know, he can go into matches knowing that he hasn't got to play his best but can still win. But like, I think at the moment he's just kind of getting better and better all the time. I think working with Chris Emery it's like a work in progress sort of thing, and they've only been working together since the World Championship, so I think he's still got, you know, he's on that placebo effect, if you like, at the moment, if it is one. But, you know, I just think he's just going to get stronger now because he's got a good guy around him, you know, and they're working well together.
Hawkins wins everything that he needed, Jimmy, ahead of this. And while we look at it and we talk about how they should set their stall out for these two, I don't think they changed much from the last time they played each other, the time before. It's familiar territory.
Yeah, they'll both be, you know exactly what each other has got to do to win the match. And as I keep going on about it, for me, Robertson has to get the balls open, because if Selby is struggling and he has a couple of games where he's not scoring, he will just close it out. And then after sort of 40 minutes of that frame, if you have a 40-minute frame, all of a sudden, like, your cue action is not as fluent as it normally is. But Selby can handle that better than anyone else in the game. So that's why he's got the strength for me.
The two players that have all the mental strength to go behind and still win this. You know, Robbo went behind Selby last time. We know Selby can go behind and grind back into the game. You know, we talk, of course, no one wants to be 4-0 down after these first four, Ronnie, but 3-1 either way, I'm still in the edge of my seat, right?
Yeah, I think like these guys are capable of sort of going on streaks where they can win 3-4 frames on the bounce. So 3-1 down is nothing. 4-0, you can kind of make a case that it could be over because they're both in such good form that you can't see the other one being able to shut the other one out for that long, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I mean...
We'll have the weekend off. Your commentators for Eurosport, Dominic Dale and Dave Hendon.
Thanks, Colin. Needless to say, we are looking forward to this one. Well, this is what you call a proper snooker match. Two former UK champions. And it's very tight on all the stats you want to look at. It's Mark Selby's 70th match in the UK Championship, Neil Robertson's 69th. They both won 50. Twice champions both, of course, world champions, world number ones, all the rest of it. And the last two meetings, both gone to deciders, both won by Neil Robertson, both great games. The champion of champions recently, there were 6 century breaks in just 11 frames. So settle back and enjoy. It'll be interesting to see
best Mark play well.
How it unfolds in the early stages. As Jimmy said at the Crucible, it was a very lengthy opening frame which favoured Selby ultimately in the context of the match. Anyway, it's Neil Robertson to get us underway. Settle back and enjoy quarter-final Friday here at the UK Championship. One of those matches, Dominic, where I don't think anyone can really have a firm opinion on who's going to come through. It's just one to enjoy.
Absolutely, two real snooker gladiators in action this afternoon. Difficult to pick a winner. Slightly different styles in play, I suppose. Neil Robertson a little quicker on the shot than Mark Selby. A slightly more attacking player, possibly. He's made 99 more career centuries than Mark Selby has. And they've both been professionals a very similar amount of time. One interesting thing for me, though, is I think Mark Selby might have more tablecraft than Neil Robertson, but Neil Robertson may be overall a slightly more dangerous opponent in terms of general long potting and break building. You never know with Neil Robertson. When he's on his A game, he can pot balls from anywhere. It's going to be very interesting, this match. I wouldn't like to pick a winner.
Yeah, what we saw there was he put his stuff on the wrong side. He thought he was sat on the left, he sat on the right. As Neil Robertson wants a Neil Robertson-esque long red. He was just kept running. Yeah, I just think players like this, they bring the best out in one another. They have total respect for each other. It is Robertson who leads the head-to-head 12-8, but it's all on the day. Both play well during the event.
Neil Robertson won.
And whoever does win knows that they will be favourite in the semis for sure against either Jack Lazowski or Zhou Yulong.
I've always thought Neil Robertson's a little vulnerable against tactical players that try to suppress his potting and break building abilities, but that's why I'm just a touch surprised that he does lead the head-to-head. They've played 20 times and Neil's won 12 of those 20.
Yeah, I think the thing about the head-to-head, obviously it's all meetings, but when you drill down into it and look at some of the real big ones, you've got 2 wins for Selby at the Crucible. So one's a semi-final, one's a quarter-final at the World Championship. Final of the Masters, Selby was successful, although, of course, Neil Robertson did beat him in the final of this 2013. But recent meetings, I suppose, on their mind, and I know Mark Selby felt he played really well in both of the 6-5 semi-finals this season, and he also felt Robertson just had a little touch of running at the right time as well in the deciders. As he goes for the double.
A lot of us have said, as regards Neil Robertson, that sometimes during a sort of an arduous tussle, a lot of tactical play within certain matches against certain opponents, that he ends up playing their style of snooker, which isn't his own, and he does suffer some defeats that may surprise some. But the problem is, when you're playing somebody who's tactically good, as Mark Selby is, it's very difficult to impress your style of play on somebody like Mark Selby. If Neil Robertson wants to come out today and attack the balls and make it an open game, if he's going to have to play safety shots because of the quality of safety shot that Mark Selby plays against him, you have no choice but to play another safety shot, and that can make it very difficult.
That's right, you can't pot one if you can't see one.
But that's a super shot that Neil Robertson's played. Mark Selby can't see the potting angle of the red near the left corner. Mark Selby certainly can't play a safety shot down the left-hand half of the table, and with the two reds near that right-hand side cushion, it makes a safety shot down this right-hand side treacherous. So he's definitely in a bit of difficulty, you could say here, Mark Selby. And with the reds open, important that he can try and get this safe somehow. Managed the thin contact on the red that he had to have. Now, has he covered this red near the left corner?
One.
Well, he got the applause for the pot, but cue ball's finished in the middle of the side cushion.
Yes, on another day, that cue ball might have cannoned into the red that's just above the black to the left, and he'd have been on the black, but it's finished rather awkwardly here.
Neil Robertson 1.
Mark Selby started here in Milton Keynes with quite a hard-fought victory over Michael White. He did make a 140 break, but 6-4. It nearly went 5 each, actually. Since then, it's been a little more comfortable. Liam Highfield 6-1, Hussein Mafai 6-2, Barry Hawkins 6-3. Again, there, it was just a bit of a struggle to get that match killed off. He'd played well in the early part of it, though. Some big breaks. And of course, Neil Robertson in the last round was 4-2 down to Anthony McGill, but really played superbly after that to win 6-4.
Yeah, I have to say I was very impressed with Anthony McGill in that match. He made things really difficult for Neil Robertson. Fabulous cueist, Neil Robertson. One of the most fluent, straightest cue action that we have in the game. Hardly surprising that he's such a great potter and a break builder. Already made 33 centuries this season.
Well, he's potted 2 good long reds in this frame, but just didn't get on colours.
Foul. You miss. Neil Robertson 4. Yep.
Couldn't quite get his hand on the bed of the table. He's putting Selby back in. Brendan Moore in charge.
Let's have a look.
I wasn't sure if the red that's just to the left of the black
Closer.
isn't potable for Mark Selby. He obviously thinks if he does attempt the pot, that the cue will cannon into the black. It's the only reason he's not taking it on, I feel.
Thank you.
One thing I'll say right from the outset, they played 5 deciders between each other, and Robertson's won them all. So if it were to go 5-5, I guess he starts favourite. That includes, of course, the last 2, the English Open semis, and in particular the Champion of Champions, which was a wonderful match. As Ronnie said, though, different table, different make-up table, that certainly seemed to be conducive to scoring.
Once again, I can't see a safety shot on for Neil Robertson down this right-hand half of the table, really. So it looks as though he's going to take this on. Oh, magnificent. What a beautiful pot. And he's extremely unfortunate that the red he's just cannoned into has finished right in front of the cue ball, which he's going to have to cue over to attempt the black. So I can't believe Neil would risk the black now. That really is unfortunate. It's a wonderful pot.
Yeah, it's a third long one he's knocked in, and he's not going to get any real profit from it.
Neil Robertson 1.
Neil would have tried to hide the red that's to the left of the black so Mark Selby couldn't play a safety shot from it. But I just wonder if Mark can just clip off this. That's the secondary option that faces Mark Selby, should he not be able to get through to that red. Is he playing the 2-cushion glancing blow off the reds around the pink here? I always think this is a bit of a dangerous shot to play. It's so easy to misjudge.
Miss. Neil Robertson 4.
Well, what you normally see with that shot is what's happened there, because the player's being cautious. Obviously, if you go the other way and get it too much of them, then you're leaving them all on. So he needs to make a very slight adjustment.
Yeah, and the thing is, Dave, he doesn't really need to play it. If he just rolled up to that red to the left of the black off the side and top cushion, it'd be perfectly safe. But this is the shot he's looking at here.
Yeah, do you want to just bring it up, please?
And you're absolutely right, Dave. You do normally, almost deliberately, underestimate the angles of the cushion rails so that you miss it on the thin side, and
it's right there.
You make gradual adjustments until you hit it correctly, but it can still all go wrong.
Well, I'm sure he can see the red between green and brown full.
Neil Robertson 4.
So can't afford to miss again.
No, surely this time he'll just... Well, there you go. I mean, coming off the side cushion and top cushion now into the red is risky, because he will be warned here. And basically the referee seems to have reworded this rule and basically say to the player that...
Look at that one before I say it.
If I have to call a miss, I will award the frame to the opponent.
That's further away from the cushion tonight.
Do you think it comes back a fraction now?
Brendan Moore, officiating there, will very shortly issue that warning to Mark Selby.
I'll call a miss this time with the frame to Neil, OK? Happy with it there, yeah? Well, really, no. OK, is he OK there?
Are you happy with that? Not really, he says.
Yeah, he's cut his options a little here now, Mark Selby, because he can't really play the escape now to the red, to the left of the black, because if he left it short, he'd lose a frame. Well, is Neil looking at snicking one of these available reds into the left corner? He obviously feels he's not going to clatter into other reds here. And he was right.
1. Neil Robertson 1.
Well, don't think Mark Selby would be particularly pleased the way that's finished. Pretty certain that Neil will take this red on. He can run past the black if he wished and play it in the opposite corner pocket, but it appears he's screwing back for the black.
1.
So in goes the red, but this black is far from easy. Well played. There was pressure on that.
Eight. Nine.
So he's been getting in and not getting on anything, but now this is a definite chance for Robertson.
16.
Champion in the UK Championship in 2013, 2015.
$17.
Yeah, you mentioned the centuries, 33. That's the same number as Judd Trump this season. Of course, they're the only two players to have made over 100 in a single season.
$24. $25.
Well, still in his teens, Neil Robertson actually dropped off the tour. I think it was back in 2003, but was later given a wild card to rejoin the tour by the WPBSA back then.
32.
It was actually his birthday when he played his last match that meant he dropped off. I think he just turned 20, so not the happiest day of his life.
33.
Distant memory now, though, isn't it?
40.
So just this black and one
41.
more red required to win. Well, a flawless first frame from Neil's point of view. Hasn't really put a foot wrong in it yet.
.48.
Yellow, just a bit awkward where it is. But he's potted frame ball. Yeah, it's right what you say. He's kept Selby on the back foot. And, you know, he's been getting in with single reds, putting Selby in trouble. Mark Selby's not really had clear-cut chances. And Neil Robertson has played a very good opening frame.
.54.
And although those reds will group together on the side cushion, he loves a century. Neil Robertson will be doing his best
55.
to try and make one.
Well, he's not that badly on the blue, actually. He can play this in and out of bulk and try and cannon into those three reds. Actually, looking at it again, it could be that the yellow's in the way to play it with top and heavy left-hand side. And the green could be causing him a problem. So actually the pink's the better ball. If you can get through to it, you can just about reach. It's a tall lad, Neil. It's probably about 6'2". Oh, he's played that to perfection. He's developed all three in one there. What a shot that was.
Well, beautiful. And like I say, you know, he
61.
said himself, even in practice, he wants centuries. Not happy if he doesn't get one. He and Judd are sort of playing down the little race they've got, but I'm sure, you know, they're great champions. They want to beat the other in every
62.
category you can think of. The next target is to get to 7.76 because they will go above Stephen Hendry on the all-time list. Robertson's on 7.48 and Judd Trump currently 7.51.
68. 69.
Well, if you can just drop this red in,
75.
he'd automatically be on the black with a perfect angle to stun him behind the yellow. But the problem is, Neil being left-handed, that yellow could cause him a problem. So whether he'll decide to try and cannon it towards the corner pocket, I don't know. Purely his choice.
Well, the red has stayed up.
Neil Robertson. 75.
But still a very good start for Robertson. He's played a great opening frame. 75 the break. He leads the quarter-final. 1-0, 6 the target. Break from Robertson. On the other table, Jack Lazowski's won the first against Show You Long. That's live on the Eurosport app. Tonight we've got Judd Trump against Karen Wilson and also Lu Ning against Joe Perry.
That so often happens with the break-off shot. A couple of reds come down in front of the black. Don't know if that black still pots in the left corner. Both these players would like it to.
1.
We've been here before again. Long red.
Neil Robertson 1.
Put your man in trouble. Selby's done it to so many himself, of course.
Not quite sure how tight that cue ball is to the brown, but I suppose it would be ideal if Mark can find a path towards the 2 reds and the black together there. Failing that, he'll have to try and drop in to that pack of reds on the right-hand side. That stray red to the right could cause him a problem if he's not careful. Oh, this could be a mistake if that cue ball rebounds enough.
Foul and a miss. Neil Robertson 4. One.
Oh, he's not getting a great deal of run of the ball, Neil, in terms of these good pots that he's knocking in and taking the cue ball to bolt with a lot of the shots to nothing. He's not landing on anything, but he could have easily been on that brown there, or even the yellow to the right centre.
Neil Robertson 1.
Well, it's more danger for Selby the way the reds are fanned out. Every time he comes to the table, he seems to be snookered or in trouble.
Yeah. Problem is for Mark Selby here, the reds are so spread out left and right. He's got to somehow get around them all if he wants to leave the cue ball nestled against the red that's by the black. Because of the position of the reds, I think he may have to come twice across the table here. I don't know if he can come around the back of the green in and out of bulk. Rest into the red by the black that way. Oh, he's obviously got a bit more room around the yellow than I thought he had. That wasn't so bad after all, but that's a mistake from Mark Selby. But it could be a mistake that he's got away with on this occasion. Very fortunate there, Mark Selby. To cannon one red in front of another and block the pocket. If Neil could have potted a red here to right corner, he'd have been away again. Well, he's lining up a very speculative plant here. He'll obviously be taking the cue ball back into bulk for position on the brown, maybe. Oh, that was a good effort.
Well, Selby was fortunate for sure. He could have been 2-0 down there. I don't mean here, I mean not leaving an easier red on.
Those 2 reds there could possibly be made into a plant in the course of the safety shot here for Mark Selby, but I think he'd be more keen to make sure he gets a good cue ball here. Is he taking this red on? No, he wouldn't have been taking that red on. He'd have been cannoning into the red nearest that left-hand side cushion if he did. Now, has he left that red on near the left corner? I don't think he has. Oh, he hasn't. So, once again, Mark Selby in a spot of difficulty here.
Well, this is what he's done to so many himself. Every time he comes to the table, you know, it's tough. It's happening to him this afternoon so far.
Yeah, he had a perfectly good shot to play there, Mark Selby, but the problem was he knew he'd be bringing the cue ball over to the yellow side of the table, and he had the problem of trying to hide the red that Neil had previously left near that left corner. But as you can see, he's managed it and put the cue ball back in a very similar place. Problem is, Neil Robertson can't hit any of the reds on this right-hand side of the table. They're blocked by both blue and pink. So I think Neil's in more difficulty here than Mark Selby was. Oh, he doesn't want to touch him ball. Oh, he's okay. Oh, does Neil think he can get through to the potting angle of this red? Mighty tight. Be fractions in it. I always think your first sight is the best. If you don't think it goes when you first look at it, it probably doesn't.
Well, this is a bit like a game of chess at the moment. A lot of defence, both players looking for an opening.
Yeah, Mark Selby just wondering if the right-hand red of the two together will pot. As you can see, it does, provided he can knock it in dead centre or slightly bottom draw as we look. Unlikely to knock this in, I have to say. Oh, but he didn't want to catch it that thickly. This is dangerous. And he's left the red.
Selby just trying to get in, which he's been unable to do. So nothing easy to go at yet today. But he's not in. Well, in the last frame, Neil Robertson, when he finally got in, made a frame-winning break. Potted that one.
Neil would love to get that black back onto its spot. Be better if he does so whilst that red's near the left corner, because he wouldn't have to play it with any great pace to be on it.
Six.
He's so good at just sort of switching into match mode, regardless of anything he's doing off the table. Once he gets out there, his concentration is impeccable. Same with Selby.
Yeah, that's just born of the desire to win and be a champion.
But when you consider off the table, Dom, you know, this is the man who once drove to the wrong Barnsley because he wasn't concentrating properly in his car.
Yes.
So he's supposed to be a qualifier in Yorkshire, ended up in some Gloucestershire village.
Yeah, it's not far from me. I live in Stroud. It's not that far away. It's
But
got
on the
tiny
table,
population.
on the table, no problem.
Yeah.
14.
Decision time for Neil now. What sort of angle does he leave himself on the black? Tried to leave himself high on
15.
it to play for the red below it. May just about have done it. But the three reds below the pink are all sort of blocking one another. But if he can stay the right-hand side of the black, he can stun up into a red to the left of the
22.
pink. Play for red into the same pocket as this red now.
23.
That's just about perfect. So the four reds, they're in a line to the left of the pink. He stuns maybe into the right-hand one of those four. Oh, he caught the wrong red, but he's still okay. He's got one on to the right centre.
30.
Well, so far it's just been
31.
a great match play, isn't it, from Robertson? Good, effective safety, and then earning openings and making breaks from them. That's what he's looking to continue to do here. He's got Selby exactly where he wants him right now.
Yes, we're nearly 2 frames into this match, and I can't honestly say I've seen a mistake yet from Neil Robertson of any
37.
kind. Sure, Neil did play for the red that's just below the pink, the bottommost of that little trio. Because if he could knock that one in, it would open the path for the other two.
38.
Show you Long's levelled up with Jack Lazowski, 1 each. That's live on the Eurosport app. That's an interesting one, of course. Both looking to win
43.
their first ranking title this week. Whereas these two here have won 18 each. Robertson and Selby. Of course, Neil Robertson, it was who beat Jack in the 2 finals he was in Riga and China. Of course, Selby then beat him in the one in Scotland. So the 3 ranking finals, he's either played Robertson or Selby. If he wins today, he'll play one of them guaranteed tomorrow.
Well, there you have it. Just red colour red required for a 2-0 lead, and Mark Selby is yet to trouble the scorers.
51.
No, that's right. It's an absolute shutout, isn't it? In all areas, you just can't see a ball. There it is. This red then should be 2-0.
57.
And the onus will be on Mark Selby, because surely he's going to get a chance at some point
58.
to do this sort of damage when he does. It's only 2-0, but he's already under pressure because he's seeing just how well Robertson is playing in all areas.
$65. $66.
So couldn't quite manage a century in the first frame. Can he manage it here?
Well, when that red hung on the lip of the right corner,
73.
when the break ended in the first frame, he sort of stared at it, as if to say, how dare you stay out?
74.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It never really looked in, but Neil looked at it as though he thought it should have dropped. Sort of stared at it as if to say that, how dare you don't go in? Don't you know who I am?
81. $82.
Well, this is ideal for Neil, being
87.
left-handed. He may just try and draw the cue ball back here, about a foot for the blue. Oh, he's running through for the black.
88.
Well, what a start. On top in every area. We saw all those stats put on the screen.
95.
Can't play much better than this. And he's underlining
97.
it with a century if he pots this green. '34th of the season, top of that list for now, and certainly on top in this quarter-final. Mark Selby just cannot get in. Yet to pot a ball, yet to see a ball, really.
104. $109. $115.
Well, Neil Robertson is playing quite beautifully here. Yeah, terrific clearance of 122 from Neil Robertson. Thoroughly on top. He leads Mark Selby 2-0.
Third frame. Neil Robertson to break.
Well, in all areas, he's been superb so far. Let's see what frame 3 has in store for us. But as I say, if Selby does get any sort of opening, he knows now he's really going to have to take it, because that's the level we're at already.
I don't think Mark Selby's done a massive amount wrong. He's hit some good safety shots. Problem is, Neil Robertson's just potted an abundance of shots to nothing and then snookered Mark Selby, and is having to escape from difficult snookers, and that's where most of his mistakes have come. And when somebody is playing fantastic snooker against you, it doesn't affect you massively because you can sit in your chair and think, well, I'm not doing a lot wrong, I just haven't had an opportunity yet. And that's been the case for Mark Selby. He hasn't had an opportunity. I'm sure he'll get some at some point. Once again, Neil Robertson's break-off shot has resulted in the black being tied up.
These two very similar ages. They turned pro around the same time. In fact, Neil lived with Mark briefly in Leicester when he first came over. And indeed, you know, was toughened up by playing some of those junior events at Willie Thorne's in Leicester, where Selby was based.
I think I first played Neil. I was sort of a good friend of his anyway when he came over from Australia. Myself, he and Quinton Han used to sort of spend a bit of time together. And I remember playing him in the final of the Masters qualifying competition. And he won it. He beat me 6-5 in the final and qualified for the Masters. I think it was 2002, if memory serves me. You'll know, Dave. But of course, the Masters not being a ranking event, it didn't help him to stay on the tour. But you know, that for me was the sign that Neil Robertson could play this game. I remember Quinton telling me just what a machine he was in terms of his long potting ability. And, I mean, that's even true today, isn't it? He's an absolute machine at his long game, and he's just a fabulous player.
Well, when he got to the Masters, he played Jimmy in London in front of a big crowd at the conference centre. Never seen anything like it before.
Oh, dear.
And, yeah, it was a bit of a bruising experience.
Well, where Neil's placing his cue there tells me he's going to risk skimming off a red here and leaving the cue ball on the bulk cushion about a foot to the right of the yellow pocket. This needs to run a little, and it has. It's a very clever shot because the green is covering the other red that's near bulk. Mark Selby needs to be careful here. He can, does he think he can hit the right-hand side of that red as we look? Is he going to try a double? No, playing the cue ball back down this end of the table behind the black. So the safety initiative now is firmly with Neil Robertson, who may have a tempting red into the left centre here.
One.
Well, concern on the face of Selby. This is why.
Three.
Yes, a 2-0 deficit is easily recoverable in a best of 11, but should that 2-0 become 3-0, given the way that Neil Robertson's playing this afternoon, it's a serious problem for Mark Selby.
I think that's the point, isn't it? It's not just the scoreline, it's the quality of the performance. You know, he hasn't scrambled a couple of frames on the black. He's won them with all-round excellence.
$11. 12.
Wouldn't be surprised to see Neil play for the red now that's occupying the pink spot before playing for the red that's above the black.
$17. $18. $24. $25.
I think he's just a touch straight on the black to go into the red, so on this occasion I think Neil will play for the remaining loose red that's just detached from that little group. Now he's got a choice, Neil. He can just
32.
pot in the red, just cannon into those 5 just to develop them and control the cue ball for position on pink or blue. Did he think he could get on the black there?
33.
Strangely enough, he's on it in a strange sort of way. Being left-handed, he can reach this. It's a thin cut, though.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting juncture now. If he gets it, you fancy 3-0. If not, then does Mark Selby finally have some sort of chance in this match?
Don't fancy him to miss this black if the position is straightforward. If the top red of that little group by the pink spot goes into the right corner, I think Neil will be all right. Oh, it's in. And he did a lot of work with the cue ball there.
Well, in a funny sort of way, we don't know how Mark Selby's
40.
playing because he's not being allowed to play. It's all Robertson, isn't it?
Yeah, he's yet to have his first scoring opportunity, Mark Selby. Tried to pop that difficult red, didn't he, I think, in frame 2. That would only just go. You can't really call that a chance.
$41.
Neil may cannon into the middle red of the 3 that's above the black there. He could screw past them for a red into the left corner, but the cannon's easier. Doesn't have to get quite so much into the cue ball.
$48. $49.
Well, this is seriously good stuff, and a great chance now to continue not only into a 3-0 lead, but just keep Selby completely potless in this match.
$54. $55.
Well, this must be extremely gratifying for Neil Robertson to be performing
62.
like this.
63.
Black for 3-0. Wow. Wow. Log that one.
Neil Robertson. 63.
Well, they'd started with the applause. It just, you hear it, it just went off. Everyone thought that was going in. It's not in. Frame's not over yet.
Ah, how about this for your first opportunity? 2 reds tight on the left-hand side cushion, the black on the top cushion. You're 63 behind with only 67 on.
One.
Well, it's a lifeline that he can't have thought was coming. Imagine if he clears. Changes the whole complexion of the match. Well, playing time, but this is the most crucial point so far. It's the only chance Selby's had to actually pot anything. Taken nearly an hour to pot his first ball.
Misjudged the line and pace of the cue ball there. That's probably end of break.
6.
Mark Selby does have the opportunity, if he wishes, to bring one of the difficult reds into play. Could theoretically even try to double one of the reds into the right centre and get onto the black. I don't think that would be a bad shot choice, in all honesty.
Mark Selby 6.
Well, there's been a slight crack in Robertson's aura of invincibility by missing the black, and this frame still live, 57 in it, 59 on. He's just checking the scores. Of course, Selby's going to need at least 3 blacks here. With the reds, can take 1 pink.
Yeah, I think Mark Selby's already decided that if you can just put 3 of these 4 reds, the 3 open ones, with high value colours, and just need 1 snooker on the remaining red, that would do him.
Oh, he's played down for the black, which made the pot more difficult.
Neil doesn't really want to remove the safe red. But, you know, if he pushes it in towards bulk, he's going to have to sit down and think, what are the chances of Mark Selby getting 3 reds with blacks and 1 pink and clearing up to win by a point with all 4 reds near bulk? Well, does this red next to the yellow pot? Doesn't want to develop the black. He's all right. He's made it worse.
Yeah, that little nudge just knocking it onto the cushion.
Just wonder if Neil will try and snick this red into the left centre. The cube will be cannoning into the blue. And that could go anywhere. It could easily find a cushion somewhere and go safe. And there you have it.
And the applause this time is warranted. Unlike when it started, when that black was on its way to the pocket. Yeah, it's taken a bit longer than maybe he would have liked, but the main thing is get the frame.
Pink ball.
Selby needs a couple of snookers already. If the pink goes in, then there's no way back. So just one slight hitch for Robertson, the black that was missed on 63 frame ball, but Selby was always going to find it difficult here with
7.
Needing the black where it was. So Robertson's going to be 3-0 up all the same. Missed that one, but
Neil Robertson, 7.
Mark Selby is remaining in his chair, a little nod of the head. Robertson then halfway towards a place in the semi-finals of this UK Championship. He leads Mark Selby by 3 frames to 0.
Looks to be a good break-off from Mark Selby. I don't know if there's a gap between blue and pink for Neil Robertson just to play a thin edge off the right-hand side of the pat to return the cue ball to bulk. If not, he may have to play a containing safety shot here to the top cushion unless he fancies taking on a difficult long red to right corner. Yeah, no attempt at the red there. Now, a chance to play one of those attacking safety shots that I always feel Neil should play more of. Just open the reds a little bit. He's got the chance to get a really good cue ball here, being that it's only on the bulk line. And with Mark Selby 3-0 down and under pressure, I don't think he'd have fancied having to play a difficult safety shot, but Neil is keeping things tight. Well, it so nearly went wrong for Mark Selby, but he's played the attacking safety, and with a little bit of good fortune, it's worked out absolutely perfectly for him. It's Neil Robertson now that's in trouble.
Yeah, they were they were both watching that cue ball intently, weren't they, to see where it would finish. Well, they're the average shot times. It looks long, doesn't it, Selby? But, I mean, most of what he's had to play has been behind balls or just in awkward spots. So I think that can only come down. It looks bad, that does, but if you've been watching the 3 frames, I think you'll understand why it is 44 seconds.
I can scarcely believe that. It doesn't seem as though he's averaged 44 seconds per shot. That's incredible.
None of these stats are going to look good, are they? They can't do.
Well, they'll probably end up looking at each other fairly soon and deciding on a re-wrap, but it doesn't have to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, it has happened, Dom. The eyes have met across, not a crowded room, but a room nonetheless. And they've agreed to start again. I guess they just felt it was going nowhere. Nothing had been potted. Little break in the tension there. The re-wrap. So it means we start frame 4 again. And no wonder Robertson's smiling. He's truly on top. As I say, it's not just the scoreline, it's the way the frames have gone. And we saw there on the graphics just the fact that he is fully in control at the moment. One thing we know about Mark Selby, though, he's tough. He will not have given this up yet. Not a chance. Frame 4 has been re-racked. So we start for a second time with Mark Selby to break, trailing 3-0. Last before the interval. Can he just get some sort of foothold by getting on the scoreboard
Mark
here?
Selby to break.
Oh, very similar beginning to this, or recommencement rather, of this 4th frame. Neil playing exactly the same shot at the beginning of it as he did last time round.
Zhou Yulong won that 3rd frame that was in the balance against Jack Lazowski, so the Chinese player there leads 2-1.
Well, this is carrying some pace, isn't it? But fortunately for Mark Selby, the blue blocking off the potential red to left corner. But that's a mistake. And this is potentially the best chance that Mark Selby's had of this little mini session of 4 frames. What can he do with it? Needs to do something.
Well, it's a good pot. He's in. He's on the black. Down to him now.
Eight. Nine.
This is where we need to see a bit of that Selby steel that we've seen so many times. Remember, he made 3 centuries against Barry Hawkins in the last round.
$16.
Only a couple more loose reds for Mark to attack. But if he does go into the pack at some point, they should split quite nicely. Because as you can see,
17.
they're already fairly nicely detached from one another.
$24. $25.
Doesn't have the best angle to work with here on the black. So having to play for one of the slightly more trickier reds.
Bit early to start
32.
thinking about maximums, because we've had 2 though in the tournament. Karen Wilson and Stuart Bingham.
33.
Mark Selby made the 100th 147 break in this very event 7 years ago. Right now he just wants a frame on the board.
Thanks. $40. $41.
Oh, he's left that cue ball to drift on a little there, but he's okay on the brown, but won't have the control of the cue ball that he could have had. This isn't ideal for Mark Selby. There is a red on
45.
into the right corner, but the cue ball will almost certainly be cannoning into 2 other reds. So no guarantee of position here at all.
$46. Yellow ball.
A useful contribution from Mark Selby, ends at 46, and it all just went wrong because he allowed that cue ball to drift on near the baulk line. Had so much angle on the brown, he felt that he had to go into the reds instead, and didn't quite work out. But a useful start to the 4th frame from Mark Selby.
Yeah, he didn't miss, just lost position. Vital moments here in this quarter-final. 46 the lead for Selby, still plenty there. 3-0 in the match. Robertson looking to really establish a commanding advantage at the interval. If you look at all the times he's beaten Selby 12 times, there was one whitewash in there. That was in the semi-finals of this UK Championship 2015, the last time he won it.
And as you can see, the reds are spread in such a useful way from Neil Robertson's point of view that a mistake from Mark Selby would easily see that 46-point advantage erased.
Foul. Neil Robertson 4.
Well, it's not a problem knocking the brownie. He was concerned he was going to leave the red on, which he doesn't look like he's done. But once again, it's given Robertson the initiative. Selby seems to have spent a lot of time either on a cushion or behind a ball, just in trouble.
Yeah, and it'd be very dangerous here to try and return the cue ball back to bulk. No easy way of doing that. That's a half mistake from Mark Selby. A choice of reds into this left centre for Neil Robertson. When you're 40-odd points in arrears in a frame, you do tend to take them on as a way of getting back into the frame.
Well, he's not missed much, and wasn't the easiest pot in the world, but just seeing him pot so many, it was another chance for sure. Show you long 3-1 at the interval over Jack Lazowski, so he's recovered from the loss of the opening frame to open an advantage there. Of course, we had Ding as champion last year, Yan Bingtao semi-finalist. And we still have Lu Ning of China going this year as well. UK Championship was originally for players either British or with British passports. First winner was Patsy Fagan from the Republic of Ireland. It's worth remembering it didn't become a ranking event until 1984, having started in 1977. So some of Steve Davis's wins, they don't count towards his ranking tally, but he still won them.
Well, he took a long time studying that, Neil Robertson.
Yeah.
He obviously had some concerns, but couldn't quite steer that cue ball around those two reds, and that could be very costly for him now.
Selby 42 to the good as he returns to the table with a good chance to win his first frame.
1.
Now, Robertson has got to be happy with how he's played so far, but he will also be aware, as everyone in the game is, that Mark Selby is particularly dangerous when he goes behind. So if he can make it 3-1 here, it's set up nicely, I think, for the second half.
Seven.
Not so good.
12.
Amazing, isn't it, where that cue ball can finish an inch either side of that red. He'd have been fine.
Pushes a red safe, but not
Selby
safe in the frame yet. 54 in front, 75 still on.
Forced to bring one of the two trickier reds into play here. Can't do anything with the 4 reds by the pink. Oh, has he left it on? He has.
Selby feeding a little bit off errors to get in, but as I say, the main thing for him is just winning the frame. Trying to get into these reds. That'll do very nicely.
Six. 7.
So we're at the sort of start of the British winter, and Mark Selby was well and truly frozen out in the first 3 frames. Did have a half chance at the end of frame 3, but ball's not ideally positioned. But he's kept his head up. He's won this frame. He's on the scoreboard, and he's still very much in this quarter-final because he can produce the sort of quality snooker that we saw from Robertson in the early stages.
13.
Remember, the last 2 meetings between them, both this season, both best of 11s have both finished 6-5 to Robertson. You wouldn't be surprised if, again, we needed all 11.
$20. 21. 28.
And the way Mark Selby's won this 4th frame, he'd probably like to stay out there. Robertson has made
29.
a few mistakes in this frame, and Hasn't really contested it at all.
$35. $36.
It's a meeting of two modern greats of snooker. Always was going to be one to relish, one to enjoy. Important frame, clearly, for Selby just to get involved.
40.
And he can look back on the early frames, I think, and feel, well, what did I do wrong, really? So he's won frame 4, and Mark Selby is on the scoreboard, but it's advantage Australia's Neil Robertson. A fascinating, high-quality start to this quarter-final. Robertson leads Selby by 3 frames to 1.
Neil, be about a minute past back in the play.
And Ronnie O'Sullivan, well, what a treat that was to watch Robbo early doors.
Yeah, brilliant snooker. You know, we knew these two guys were playing fantastic snooker coming into the match, and the way it started off, you know, it was quite slow. The first frame, a lot of safety shots, but there was all good quality stuff. And then as soon as Neil got his chance, bang, you know, got his scoring boots on. So to go from slow snooker for 10, 15 minutes to scoring heavy, that shows he's really confident in finding his action, you know.
Let's have a look at frames 1 and 2. Jimmy and Robbo was thinking this game's easy.
Well, you know, they had quite a long safety battle here, and then you'll see that Robbo has no other shot. He has to just pot this. He's trying to get on the black, but this just gives you such confidence with your cueing. Doesn't get on the black, he leaves himself hampered, but plays a good safety shots and get control of the table. And then Mark Selby, just playing to try and leave Neil as safe as he can. Bit of a mistake there from Mark. And Neil Robertson pots this red and gets in and does the business. And then this is a bit of a mistake for Mark Selby. He's playing sort of a pot safety there, catches it miles too thick and leaves Neil Robertson a nice pot into the right-hand top pocket. He's not going to miss that. Once again, goes on to win the frame. Yeah. Good quality stuff.
Up when we moved on to the third frame, Robbo missed a black. It was the first moment in the game he looked human. Sid just having to check his neck for wires, but he still took that 3-0 up. And you said before the game, the only way we're saying this is done is if someone goes and wins all 4. We're like, it's going to happen. But Selby dug in. Such an important 4th frame.
Yeah, he dug in. Listen, let's have it right. If he loses that frame, goes 4-0 down, good case to say the game's over, because to try and win 6 frames on the bounce against Neil Robertson, who's playing that well, hard task. But great long red to get in, you know, got himself in amongst the balls. You know, he'd be feeling it at this stage, thinking, you know what, I need to win this frame. So every shot's a pressure shot. This is just a mistake from Robertson. If it is a mistake, he couldn't get to the bottom of the white. So, you know, it wasn't an easy shot to manipulate the white. But obviously left Selby in. You can see the disappointment on his face. You know, he's playing that such good snooker. This was a great blue. You know, stun run through. Takes the top red out, leaves himself a choice of 2 reds. So he'd been feeling good here, knowing that he's got his first frame on the board, you know.
Yeah, bit of seeded out. Something for Robbo to actually think about in the mid-session.
Well, he'd be delighted with his work, though, you know. He's won it in 3 visits. It's only that black he's missed and that safety shot, you know, but he has been top draw. Mark Selby just be pleased to have won that frame to keep him in the match. The next frame after the interval is huge, because if Robbo gets it, he's more or less in control of the game. He's not won the game, but I feel if Selby wins it 3-2, there's nothing in it then.
Absolutely. Well, listen, threatening snow outside, inside, it's raining world-class snooker. We're back after the break. What a team we've got today. Jimmy White and Ronnie O'Sullivan. I'll hand over to you guys for the next few minutes. You said a lot in those early frames when Robbo was playing flawless snooker about him having a flawless cue action, so you're going to take that and develop that.
Yeah, for me, it's all about trying to be as straight as you can through the... Sorry, this is... you can see how his left leg is dead straight. That's his foundation. And he gets very low and goes through the ball.
So right leg if you're right-handed.
Yeah, your straight leg is always your anchor leg, so that's the one that you want to keep still. You don't want to move any movement, because as the cue's going backwards and forward, any movement, the cue can kind of go up and down. So very important the body stays still as you can, you know.
Yeah. So what? Basically, I try and keep my left leg straight. He gets on line, Robbo, doesn't he? He's bang on line every time. He's very low.
Yeah.
And just try and keep your head still and just try and, like, go through the ball as easy as you can. See, I've not hit that good. That's why the white's not reacted properly.
There's no exact answer, though, is there, Ronnie? All the greats develop their style a little bit with the millimetre.
There's three ways you can play a shot. You can stun it, screw it, follow through. But for me, the follow-through shot just gives you so many more options because you can create different angles. Whereas if you used to screw that back, it's such a harder shot to get on the red. And a lot of people are quite jabby styles, so they would rather play the screw shot because it's a kind of get out. It's a kind of a weaker shot, if you like, whereas the run-through is more tester cueing. Someone like Robertson will get this 10 out of 10. So I know it's a simple shot, but if this simple shot's played well, he'll be there. So it becomes a difficult game, becomes quite an easy game, but it's all done on technique, you know. So this is why, if you watch Jimmy, if he hits up on the white will slow up and then accelerate. You see the way it slow up and accelerate? You knew that was going to be perfect. But sometimes if you don't hit it right, the white just hits the black and there's no acceleration in it, and then it just ends up there. So it's a real test of cueing shot, you know.
Like you say, stabby.
And he's very like, he walks into the shot well, doesn't he? He's always online, I think, Robbo.
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's got the best cue action in the game. You know, consistently. You know, it never changes. And you know, I mean, even Steve Davis, who had a great cue action, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Neil Robertson because he's much more an aggressive type player as well. You know, he can. See that shot there? It's just lovely. You know, it sort of drifts over there. So, you know, I always say it's like in golf, a fade is a kind of bit of a cop-out shot. If you can play the draw, you get a bit of extra length. It gives you more options, and it's the same with snooker. If you try and play a little stuns and screws, they're OK when it's needed, but a lot of the time, the run-through shot's the right one, and there's not many people on the circuit that feel comfortable playing, but the ones that do, they make break building much more. It gives them much more variety of where to put the white, you know. The
entire Eurosport career nodding at that, because when you guys aren't here and we play on the table, everything's a stun shot, everything's a screw shot. Because, Ronnie, that's all we can do, and it looks good. Yeah, well, all the screw shots look good, you know, but, you know, if you watch all the great players, they use the cushions, you know, they like to, you know, and it gives you more options, you know, whereas when you're just screwing back, you're using one cushion, where Jimmy's using two. It's giving him much more options of what to do, you know. Brilliant insight. Looking at Robbo's cue action, and the only action that matters when we come back will happen on that main. We haven't even time to talk about it and can't wait for it.
No, it'd be a fantastic match. Obviously, Trump's the man in form, #1 in the world, winning fantastic tournaments. Had a great match with Ronnie less than a fortnight ago. So, you know, he'd be trying to win his second UK championship, but Wilson has been impressive this week. His long game's been fantastic, so he'll be up for the game. So it will be tight, but you've got to slightly favour Trump.
Yeah. A quick word on what you said before we started this afternoon, Ronnie, about temperament being the key in the other quarterfinal. It's absolutely worked out that way. You know, it was about bottling that third frame and getting confidence up, and you know, Joey Long's going to be delighted with that lead.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, sometimes you're blessed with a good temperament. And I just think if Jack's going to go further in the game and win tournaments, that's probably an area that he would need to work on. You can work on it. It's just whether he wants to work on it, you know. But it's like anything, you know, if you want to compete at this level, the highest level and win trophies, you can't really have any weak spots because these top guys will find that out.
No worries about temperament and what we're about to see here. 3-1 to Neil Robertson. And you know, we try and avoid this cliche, Jimmy, but this is the frame, isn't it? The frame back.
It's the best of 11. There is a little bit of room. You know, best of 9, 4-1 down against a top player. They're going to get a chance. So you are second favourite big time. But this next frame is huge. But, you know, Robbo seems to be playing a lot better of the two.
Yeah, well, listen, talking us through it, Dominic Dale and Dave Hendon right to the better end.
Well, Selby happy to be on the scoreboard. I'm sure he will feel he needs to improve in pretty much all areas, but he's got a foothold at 3-1. Neil Robertson halfway, though, towards a place in the semi-finals of this UK Snooker Championship. Played so well for 2.5 frames. Missed that black on 63 in frame 3, but still got it won. But Selby is involved at last.
Yeah, I think it's a really big frame, this next one, in the context of this match. If Mark Selby can win it and just reduce the arrears to a single frame, he's right in this match, and you could say it's anybody's, because that would mean he's won the last 2 frames.
Well,
if that man there can extend his lead to 4-1, yeah, what is he doing there?
He's just left his chalk. I think he thought it was in his pocket. It was in his Cue
Ready?
case. Anyway, we're ready to get going again.
Frame 5. Neil Robertson to break.
So, frame 5 of a possible 11. Neil Robertson leads Mark Selby 3-1. It's going to come down, I think, to can Robertson maintain his level, which has been very high? Can Selby up his level? Maybe they'll start to meet in the middle slightly. We'll see.
Mark Selby's break-off shot resulted in the black once again being tied up. But does that red to the right of the black pop for Neil Robertson here? Can he get through to the potting angle? Can't be much in it. Is Mark Selby taking this on? This is tough at the beginning of a new session. That's the sort of line that Mark Selby was looking for. Had a fair bit of a margin for error there. Touching ball declared by referee Brendan Moore. Surely Neil Robertson can't get through to red into the left centre here, can he? No. Try probably to get that cubble in behind the yellow here.
4-1 now. Zhou Long against Jack Lazowski. So that's 4 on the spin for the 22-year-old from China. 2 frames away from the semis. And a meeting with the winner of this match.
One.
Wow, well done, Mark Selby. I wondered what he was looking at there in the middle of that pack of reds, but he was trying to work this plant out. Have a look at this. The 2 reds cannoning the one below, deflecting it into that left-hand corner pocket. That wasn't a fluke.
Five.
Well, he's got himself in first. Remember, he didn't pot a ball for 2.5 frames. Can he start the heavy hitting that we saw from Robertson? We've had a century already from Neil Robertson. As I say, in the last round he had 3 himself, Selby, against Barry Hawkins. I don't think he had
30.
any reason to get on his own case at the interval. You know, a couple of errors did let Robertson in, but they were forced out of him from good safety play from Robertson. He was in difficult spots those first couple of frames.
$14.
This was Selby just looking
17.
at that plant, working it all out. And this was the result.
Yeah, it was that last flick of the cue towards the pocket that told me he was actually taking that
18.
on. But my goodness, it took some working out. Former English 8-ball pool champion Mark Selby back in the day, and those are the type of ricochet shots that you play a lot of in pool.
$23. $24. $29. $30.
choice of reds to play for here, Mark Selby. Doesn't need to go into that little group of reds and pink.
$37. 38. $45. 46.
Well, Selby's highest break so far, but wants to keep going here and just keep Robertson
53.
in that seat. Give him a taste of his own medicine.
$54.
Just wonder if the bottom red of that little group of 5 will pot into this right corner. If it doesn't, then Mark Selby may just play a delicate cannon into these. Well, there's your answer. It must go. Just a couple more reds required.
59.
To reduce the deficit to a single frame. And all of a sudden, this match is becoming more and more interesting.
Yeah, and I think in some ways an important moment was when Robertson missed that black on 63 in the third frame. I know he won the frame, but that was the first little crack in his invincibility this afternoon. And it just showed that actually, yes, he can miss. He can make mistakes.
60.
Selby still needs a red here after this black.
Thanks.
Well, of course, he got in with that
67.
very inventive plan. But he's not got that plan. So this frame not done yet.
Mark Selby, 67.
Still enough on to tie the frame.
I don't know how Mark Selby missed that. That looks so straightforward. I think if Mark Selby had just rolled that plant in, it wouldn't have been a problem, and Robertson there would have needed a couple of snookers. As it is, he can still tie.
One.
Terrific. That'll make you feel good. So things have suddenly become a lot closer. Haven't we seen it, though, so many times before with Mark Selby? In adversity is where he produces his best snooker.
6.
I think sometimes when he's quite a way in front, he sometimes struggles actually to kill it off comfortably, but from behind.
7.
He's absolute granite. Worth seeing the plant again that started things. And in this frame, Robertson hasn't potted a ball.
13. 14. 20. 21.
Neither player's been in the semi-finals of this UK Championship since they last won the title. For Selby, that was 4 years ago.
26.
Robertson 5, so it's been a while. These major events, you know, they come round obviously once a year, and so many players capable of winning them. It's a real achievement just to win one, never mind to keep adding to your tally.
27.
Stephen Hendry won it 5 times, Steve Davis 6, Ronnie O'Sullivan 7 at the UK Championship. Incredible.
$32. 34. 37. 41.
Still taking great care to pot these remaining balls, Mark Selby, and prolong the agony for Neil Robertson and keep him sat in his chair for as long as possible.
46.
Yes, we always hoped this would be a good match, and it is. And it's now a close one, with Selby winning the last 2.
52.
Made 67. Missed that plant. But he's gone in again with that tripping. Long red. He's made the clearance. So it's just 3-2 now to Neil Robertson.
Mark Selby to break.
But it's clever mind games, isn't it, you see, from Mark Selby, because by leaving the auditorium for a few minutes, Neil Robertson has to remain in his chair and think over things even more.
Yeah, I mean, look, he may have needed the toilet. We're not complete cynics. We don't know, but you're right though, as well. Selby's average shot time's come well down because it's 44 seconds at one point. It's now come down to 26, as we say. When it was 44, you know, he was pretty much snookered every shot or on a cushion.
Well, you'd think that was touching ball, wouldn't you?
He's touching both balls, Mark.
Both of them, in fact.
Both, yeah.
Wow, this was a superb pot from Mark Selby. I didn't think he was going to take it on because the pace he was playing it at If it didn't go in, could easily have stayed near that corner pocket.
Could just have done with a little flick on the green here. So it was possible.
Mark Selby 1.
But this is what Robertson was doing early on, wasn't he? He was getting in first, and then if he didn't land on something, he was just laying the snooker, keeping the pressure on. I do think this is one of the great sort of matchups in modern snooker between these two, because they're similar. They've got similar strengths. I suppose Robertson, the long potting would be, maybe he'd be top of the list on that one. Selby certainly winning the more fragmented frames. Both great scorers, both great temperaments. Just a really interesting matchup.
Was a useful little nudge to the green. It could well have snookered Neil Robertson once again. Don't think he can hit any of that red to the right, can he? Or the left, rather. Oh, he could. And played it very well. But that's a mistake from Mark Selby. Caught that one way too thickly. He's a little fortunate that the cue ball has finished in front of the brown. It's going to be slightly awkward cueing this for Neil Robertson, and all of a sudden these mid-range reds will look quite difficult to him because he hasn't done a lot the last two frames.
Yeah, his long potting has been excellent. 80%, it's very good.
Neil lining up the potential plant to the left corner, but as you can see, it's makeable, but he could easily leave it on if it doesn't drop. Useful safety, that one from Neil Robertson. Mark Selby can't get through to the red near the right corner. And there's certainly no easy path back to bolt for him here. They're all rather tied up, aren't they, those reds and the black? So close to one another. Very few of them will pot anywhere.
Well, little standoff. You can see the respect they have for one another, it's obvious. It comes from all the matches they've had, all the titles they've won.
Yeah, the reason they're playing this tip-tapping at this top end of the table is because of the red near the right corner. Neither player's had the chance to leave the cue ball down this yellow side of the baulk cushion. But Mark Selby can certainly do that now. With that shot from Neil Robertson, it's rather ended that little stalemate. Little thin from Neil. He's just about hidden the possible red though, as you can see. But I'm not sure that Mark Selby has. No, it's on this time for Neil, but again, these will look quite tricky to Neil. It's been a while since he's had a really good opportunity.
One.
Yeah, good pot, as you say, because it'd been a very cagey frame up to that point. He'd missed the long red to the opposite corner already. And the dynamics changed. He doesn't quite have the breathing space he had before. It's 3-2 now. Selby has won the last two frames.
Just look at the state of the table there with those reds surrounding the black. I think Neil, if he can, ought to try and remove the 3 reds from the pink spot so he can then leave an angle maybe on the blue to clatter into those reds and try and free everything up.
Six.
For me, he's got to play the red into the left centre here, play up for the blue. He can leave a great angle on it. But he seems to have other ideas.
Seven.
Show you long 5-2 over Jack Lazowski, so just one away. His show from the semi-finals.
13.
Well, he has a bit of a problem here now, Neil. He's short on the blue, so he's going to have to take the more difficult pink. At the same time, try and control the cue ball.
$20. $21.
He had an unbelievable spell at the start of the year. He won that European Masters. He was runner-up the next week in the German Masters. Literally the week after, won the World Grand Prix. Oh, he's trying to get into the reds. Missed the blue. Cardinal sin there. And the bad news is he has got
Robertson.
into them.
21.
Hasn't cleared the black, but he's left a red on.
It's been quite a curious little break for me, this, from Neil Robertson, the way he's gone about it. I just wonder how Ronnie or Judd Trump would have gone about getting into those reds, whether they'd have done so earlier on. But you're absolutely right, Dave. The fact that he didn't develop the black could help him later on in this frame.
1.
Just seems the sort of tension has risen, hasn't it, as the match has gone on, and just has the feel already of being one that's going to be possibly 5 each, certainly close.
Yeah, it seems that way now, doesn't it? And Mark Selby quite rightly playing for the red on the pink spot here, because he could do that pink on its spot. If he'd have played for a different red and then potted the pink, he would have had to go on the blue spot, much further away from all the other reds.
$5.
Just took it for granted, really, didn't he, Dave, I think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously playing with pace, because he had to play with pace to get into the reds. I suppose it's more missable, but you expected him to get it.
$11. 12th. $18. $19. $25. $26.
Just approaching the important
32.
moment here of this 6th frame. Mark Selby has a lead of 12. Just beginning to run out of easy reds. You will need
33.
one of the two difficult reds, the one next to the blue and the one tied up with the black. Oh, it's gone wrong. Probably wanted to cannon the black there, not the red. And that's at the
39.
break and right at the most critical time of this frame.
Yeah, that was the one thing that went well for Robertson, not actually freeing the black when he missed the blue, went into them. Gave Selby the eventual headache of doing so. It's not worked out as intended. Not on a red. There's a lot of cue here. Might need a bit more.
It's like one of those fishing poles, isn't it? And look at that. It makes the shot hard to time because you very rarely know exactly where the cue tip is in relation to the cue ball.
Wow, look at this.
Goodness me.
Extension on the extension. Got to get it all out the way as well. Needs this to keep running. Now it's got to unscrew it all. Well, he did well there. It was a bit wobbly, wasn't it? Understandably, with so much cue and extensions, but...
Mark Selby, 39.
And Brendan waiting for him to get all the equipment out of the way before calling the score, because he could have fouled at any moment if he'd have dropped something.
Now, I wonder if Neil can get through to the red next to the blue. I'm certain he'll take it on if he can get through to the potting angle. If he just, well, he can. If he just holds the cue ball about an inch above where the red is, he'll be on the blue to the opposite corner.
One.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's seriously good, isn't it? I suppose in some ways he felt his options had been sort of limited. Even so, what a great pot.
Wow, what a steal this would be for Neil Robertson. He'll be under pressure here, be no doubt about that. The chance of 4-2 when it looks so unlikely. Just needs one delicately played little positional shot here. Well, he's played for the pink there.
7.
I think he felt he was in danger of cannoning into the 2 reds if he tried to get onto the black, but he'd be delighted with the shot he's just played. Oh, surely he doesn't think the black pot's between the 2 reds, does he?
$14.
Well, that was eye of the needle stuff, wasn't it?
$50.
Key shot coming up here. You can punch the pink in, take the cue ball past the black on the right-hand side, get very close to the last red, or you can just drop it in. That's as good as perfect.
21. $22.
So he needs
29.
yellow, green and brown. Neil Robertson in this battle here this afternoon, arresting back control. Got him with that super red.
31.
Here it is. Worth seeing again. Selby was putting him
34.
under pressure. He'd won the last 2. Robertson must have been concerned when he missed the blue going into the reds earlier on.
38.
But this has been an excellent contribution, and it just again keeps Selby at arm's length. 2-frame lead restored.
$43.
This really is a proper match, isn't it, in all areas? They're both excelling. But ultimately it comes down to making breaks like this when the pressure's on. That's what sorts the players out, and they're both
49.
capable of doing it. In this frame, it's Neil Robertson stepping up. And clearing up
56.
with 56, an important break to get his 2-frame lead back. It's 4-2. So Neil Robertson returns leading 4-2. Of course, he was 3-1 up after the interval. Selby won frame 5, 56 clearance from Robertson. It's got him within 2 of the semis. Not been in the semi-finals of this UK Championship for 5 years.
Robertson now just 2 frames away from victory, so if he can win this next frame to go within a frame of victory, it will relieve a lot of pressure on him.
One.
Oh, what a pot that was from Matt Selby. Terrific. Especially as he must have been playing it still with the disappointment at having lost that last frame in his mind.
Thanks. 7.
As you can see, that only just goes.
8.
Whereas the pink was a good couple of millimetres away from the red, just above it. I thought Brendan could have just got that pink a touch closer to it. Brendan Moore, being the referee, of course. Always overrun this. Now, the red isn't too difficult, but
50.
positionally, the fact that it's not straight in this red could cause a problem here.
$60.
Found the gap there with the cue ball, and I suppose you could say it's just about stopped in time for the blue in the left centre, but does it mean he'll be playing this cue ball into the pack of reds now?
$21.
Easy to say in hindsight, but you wish he'd have played that with a lot more pace.
Mark Selby, 21.
So, from what was quite a promising opening initially, just 21. It's not been the sort of blizzard of breaks we saw when they played in the Champion of Champions. It was 6 centuries, 3 each. But every match is different. Still been high quality. And there's still time, of course, for more big breaks. We have had 1 century, 122 from Robertson in frame 2. Selby's best to 67.
That's worked out nicely for Neil Robertson. I think the green is hiding the potential red to the right corner, yes, indeed. And I think the blue is blocking the left-hand side of the table. So getting the cue ball back to bulk here, well, I can't really see a path. May have to just drop onto the red here near the right corner, Mark Selby. I think anything else is just too risky. He's found something. Oh, he did really well. Such a small gap to play through there with the cue ball, but he managed it.
One.
Another great red from Neil Robertson, similar to the one in the last frame. And I think having won that last frame, it's just relieved some of the tension in Neil Robertson.
From distance, he's been excellent. I mean, you expect that from him, but, you know, he's still got to pot them. Just because he's got a good reputation as a long potter, he can have off days.
Five. Six. $12.
Well, that would appear to have tied the pink up for now, but Neil would have been aware of that. He'd like to have been able to somehow get onto the black here if he could.
$13.
Be handy if Neil can play for the red nearest the black spot here, because if he plays for the red near the right corner and then plays for the black, when it's on its spot, it'll block the pocket for the red next to the black pocket. So that's what he's done. He's just drifted past that little group of six, and now he's in A1 position. And no reason
18.
at all why he can't extend his lead and go within a frame of victory.
19.
Yeah, and this is kind of the other side of it. He started well, got a good lead, but then it's how do you respond when you're put under pressure by your opponent coming back at you, and so far so good on that score.
Yeah, that fantastic red
26.
that he knocked in the previous frame. He was under pressure there, all right. But it won him the frame
27.
in the end. And he looks a different player again now.
I think he's got the perfect mind for snooker. When he's out there, all he sees is that table. He's a bit of an obsessive character, Neil Robertson. We saw the other day, he could remember his first ever match in the UK Championship, first win. He recalls all sorts of shots
34.
he's played from matches everyone else has long forgotten.
35.
Well, I'm certain Neil will be playing into that little group of reds now to try and disturb something. And it's worked out fine.
42.
Well, got to keep that iron focus that he's shown all afternoon to put this away, and then suddenly he looks a big favourite again at 5-2.
$43.
Yeah, I mentioned that 3-week run where he won the 2 titles in between, got to the final, next day turned up at the Welsh Open looking like a zombie. He really did. Still got to the quarterfinals that week, even though he could barely stand up. Just shows you how hard he is to beat.
48.
Yes, I remember that very well. And Neil is definitely one of the fitter
49.
players on the tour.
You could tell that he'd only just got to the venue because his hair was all stuck up. It wasn't straightened like he likes it. But he still got to the quarters. It was just an incredible run of consistency that he had. He's won a
56.
title, remember, every year since his first in 2006. Incredible record, really. And he'd love to end 2020 on a high by winning one of the real big ones in our sport for the 3rd time.
57.
Could play a little cannon here into the red and the pink. The top red obviously pots.
64.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's all he needs to get 2 snookers required. So, Mark Selby began the comeback, but Robertson has played 2 excellent frames here to pull away again.
$72.
We know it's in his mind. It's another century. It would be 750th of his career, a little landmark.
73.
Jack Lazowski was quoted in one of the papers this morning as saying he thought the pundits were unduly harsh on him.
78.
But when Stephen Hendry said that Neil Robertson
79.
was an amateur break builder, he didn't sulk about it. He thought, right, let's listen to what he's got to say and let's take it on board. And now look at him. Just makes century after century after century.
86.
Got into that
88.
one a little bit too much. Taking his chalk out, that'll make all the difference. Might have to get to the rest out here.
Yeah, he seems somewhat loath to use the rest, but he doesn't have to do anything with the cue ball here. The angle on the green is sufficient to bring him back around the angles for the brown into the same pocket.
.91.
Brown and blue for his second century of the match. Oh, Neil. He'll be so annoyed.
Neil Robertson.
He'll be so annoyed. 91. But he's won the frame and he's won from victory, leading Mark Selby 5-2. Mistake. Might not even be a mistake. And it could be over. Robertson could get in with a long red, but if Selby leaves him in, then that could be that. That's why he was anxiously watching there to make sure that that red was covered on the left-hand side.
Difficult to see Mark Selby reeling off 4 frames in succession though, isn't it? Without some help from this man here.
Well, he's never beaten Robertson in a decider, so it would be a first. Yeah, you've got to apply pressure, and Selby's great at doing that, but Robertson, you know, it's going to have to be a lot of pressure, I think, to threaten him here, because he's just playing so well. And look at that. Look at that red. Brilliant.
That was such a difficult shot. Queuing down on the cue ball from off the bulk cushion. Timing is absolutely fantastic, Neil Robertson. As Ronnie said in the studio, got one of the best cue actions in the game. It's almost like Dings, but just with a little more fluency.
Yeah, Don, well, 9 out of 10 for long potting. I mean, that is just brilliant. So he's in already. Selby's broken off. Will he get back to the table?
Nine.
In the 2019 World Championship, Neil Robertson played sensational snooker for the first 2 rounds. Came a cropper to John Higgins. The way to do it, I guess, is to improve each round, and he's certainly upping his level. He played really well
60.
in the last round from 4-2 down to McGill, but this has been brilliant so far, and he's in the frame. He needs to win it.
17. A second now, please.
Chance here for Neil to play for the black to go into the pack of reds. Well, actually, the fact that that pink's going to be respotted just above the black there
Thank you.
sort of ruined the shot I thought
23.
he might be playing next. I thought if he could leave the cue ball parallel to the black, he could play a deep screw into them, just find a little gap
24.
at the back of the pack just to open them far and wide. They'd have fanned out beautifully, but the moment that pink was placed there, didn't make the shot available anymore. Lucky.
$29. 30.
Yeah, he didn't get a better split, but still had a red to go at, which he's knocked in, so the break continues.
$34. $35.
May be able to go into the pack of reds the same way as before, off the 2 cushions. Just got to be careful he doesn't knock a red towards that right centre. Oh, that's okay. He's on it.
Yeah, he's not meaning to, but he's sort of chipping reds out, but he's still going. First attempt to get into them, obviously he was trying to split them, but he's still going, that's the point, and just looks so confident, Dominic, doesn't he? You know, he's going to take a big slip up, I think, to let that man back in.
Yeah, he'll be lucky, Mark Selby, and I think he feels that way himself, that he may not get back to the table here.
$41.
This time a better angle to go into the pack of reds for Neil Robertson. If he can cannon the red that's just the left of the pack, the one that's just slightly detached from the others, he can knock it towards his left corner and develop a few other reds in the process. Doesn't need to play this with a great deal of power. Oh, caught the wrong side of them. Still just about batting though. There is a red on into the left corner.
46.
Yeah, I mean, he's queuing so well. You still fancy him. It's not easy, though. This didn't quite work as planned, but still on a red. Is this Mark Selby's last chance of getting back?
$47.
Didn't touch the sides.
Very confidently played, wasn't it? Neil would have known that cue ball would be cannoning into that red near the left-hand side cushion. He's still on the blue, but the positional aspect of the shot's going to rather have to take care of itself here, because he's only an inch off that side cushion. Can't really apply anything else but topspin to the cue ball here. But I think the natural path of the cue ball would be to come off this top cushion and miss the pink, come off the side cushion, and I think he'll be on a red into the left corner, one that's near the black.
All those stats there that they put up in the 90s. Incredible. It's a rather adventurous break, isn't it? But it's still, they're still going in.
52.
Yeah, I wasn't sure actually whether he would or wouldn't cannon that red that he did, but well, it's worked out fine, really. No problem.
$53.
Must say, I really am full of praise for Neil's performance this afternoon. He was put under pressure from Mark Selby, as we thought Mark Selby would put him under pressure, but he's responded like a true champion.
That's right. I think it's not just the performance, it's who he's done it against, someone he's had many battles with down the years.
57.
Getting closer. 3 balls needed now.
58.
Could play a little cannon, Neil, onto the right-hand red of that little group of 5. That would leave him in position for 2 others into the left corner. There is a gap, though, between those 4, as you can see. If he wished, he could just play for that gap. He's played for the red into the right centre instead. A little more missable, but of course he must be full of confidence, and it
65.
is frame and match ball.
To complete what would be a very impressive victory. What a performance.
66.
This has been. Mark Selby broke off in this frame. He'll be the first to accept just how well Robertson's played, particularly having been put under that pressure when Selby got back to 3-2. Neil Robertson is starting to look like the man to beat. There's other big hitters, not least Judd Trump, of course, in the other half of the draw. But whoever he comes up
74.
against for the rest of the week, they're going to have to play some stuff to stop him if he carries on like this. His long game, superb. Safety, excellent. He's making the breaks. And, of course, he is a proven champion. He's got it all. Same all applies to Selby,
81.
but today he was second best.
$82.
Now, just missed out on the century in the last frame. He'll want to put that right here to end the match with his 750th career century.
Yes, he could have made 2 other centuries in this match.
89.
4 in total, but I think he'll settle for 2.
90. $97. 98.
Neil Robertson, twice a UK champion. Will it be a hat-trick in 2020? The blue is for career century, 750. Another little milestone for the Australian. Hasn't he finished this off well?
105. 108.
Question now: who of the players that are left can raise their game sufficiently to stop him? There's plenty of quality, of course, still going, but Neil Robertson has played quite brilliantly today.
117. $123.
A flawless finish.
130.
A total clearance of 130. What a performance from Neil Robertson to book a place in his 4th UK Championship semi-final. Mark Selby started to put him under pressure. Robertson responded in style. He's got the win. He's in the last 4 by